to it when you're up against Tribe, taking the Adagio to go against Dienzio. This is them trying to send a message, especially because we saw the Adagio coming out from Dienzio previously at other events and such. So Rona is going to be the answer here, and Rona into the Adagio is one of these picks that as long as you block the Verse of Judgment, you can get a lot of work done because he's not very mobile.
Yeah, look at this Lorelei ban. They're respect banning from Gabe because he just played it so phenomenally well. Now Grace or Arden are the priority picks here at this point. Cloud9 has played Grace along with Arden really well. And also Fortress too could work out here with the Adagio Fortress jungle composition that they have ran yesterday actually. So let's see what they prioritize. They're actually take away the Koshka from Tribe here because Tigers has been playing a lot of Koshka lately.
Yeah, Arden is open. Black Feather is still open. Like you mentioned, Grace could go over to C9 if Tribe does prioritize the Arden pick here. Black Feather is a very, very strong one, especially if Joseph gets it in the jungle. They play it CP with the Adagio open power. It could be a very strong composition for Cloud9.
Yeah, I don't think they need to go for the Arden right now because if you take that Black Feather, you still have Arden, Grace, and a couple other options you can run into that with that composition as well. So I would love to see them pick up the Black Feather, go for this dynamic duo that we've seen on the fold a few times already at Worlds, but they want to prioritize Max Green. They want him on a comfort pick, and they get the Arden.
They certainly have, and Arden has been a highlight captain of the tournament so far. We've seen huge priority on that pick, especially with Churn Walker and Lyra off the table.
So far in the draft, though, Tribe are definitely far ahead. Corona and Arden plays really good into the Adagio because he is so immobile. When you start kiting away, you don't have too many abilities that you can dash around with. You actually have none. So Rona getting on top of the Adagio with the Vanguard following up and a Gauntlet perhaps, it's really easy to focus down the Adagio with Tribe's composition. So Cloud9 will need to spin the draft very heavily right now in these last two picks to come out ahead.
I know Joseph played Petal, but I wonder if they're going to do CP Sky here. But that could be risky because Taka is open to the draft right now. So let's see what they're going to pick to counter.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a CP Sky, however. They could still pick it up as a weapon Sky and just run the Adagio as a captain. That's one of the things we often forget about when we're talking about Cloud9 is when they picked the Adagio in the regular season, it was actually more often going to Gabe Vizzle than it was to Old School. So that is still something that they can flex around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and you're right on point right there, Tasty Bacon. What I was going to mention is Adagio captain, his early game is so strong. So between these two teams, we mentioned that they both like to play aggressive. They both like to play confident. Cloud9 are saying we're going to come with the stronger draft for that specific strategy and try to play aggressive in the early game, try to snowball.
And it's exactly what we talked about before the draft. Cloud9, heavy focus on the Vox because Old School, absolutely one of the best Voxers in the world, if not the best. And that's exactly what he's here to prove.
This is also a nice adaptation from Cloud9 because everyone knows that the first pick, they put it into the carry so frequently. So the fact that they pick up the Adagio, you automatically assume that's going to Old School, and then they just flex it into the captain role, no longer going with that carry as the first pick in this particular draft. It can catch opponents off guard, and there's the Fortress. This was the Cloud9 comp for so long in the autumn season.
Yeah, for sure. Fortress is such a strong pick because they play this comp so well with their focus and their team fight synergy. They can delete a carry immediately. And Rona has that fortified health, and the Fortress Mortal Wounds counter it so well. However, Petal here could be a good counter because Petal beats Fortress and shuts him down in early game very hard. So let's see if Tribe's going to decide on a Petal potentially here.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 definitely spin the draft like I was saying. They going to need to come out ahead with the Vox pick, the Fortress. That's two different Mortal Wound sources to be applied onto the Rona if they're trying to focus her, reducing the Vanguard barrier, reducing the fortified health, and even the sustain that comes out from the Serpent's Mask that Ronas usually pick up.
There's the Black Feather. The dynamic duo do show up after all. This is going to be an incredible match. There is so much strength in each of these picks and each of these players.
Honestly, it feels like an incredibly strong roster here for Tribe when it comes to what the metagame is right now. But it's old faithful for Cloud9. These are the picks that we know these individual players for.
Yeah, what it's going to come down to... Ooh, my mic's not working.
Oh, started to come back.
A little bit of a sore throat there. But yeah, let's talk about these compositions real quick.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the composition, C9 definitely came out ahead for me at least because Countering a CP Fortress is all about playing to your range advantage and then kiting away when he pops his wolf. When you have a triple melee composition, that's going to be really hard to do. You got to fight them head on, and that's why I'm putting C9 ahead in this one.
Fighting them head on is exactly what we were expecting coming into this matchup. Both of these teams love to take control of a game. Is that what we're going to see here? Is this going to be an absolute bloodbath from the word go?
I think it absolutely is. It may not have as many kills as you would expect from a bloodbath like this, but there will certainly be plenty of fighting going on around the Elder Treant and around the jungle middle Treants as well once we get into the mid game.
I actually don't expect that just because CP Fortress needs to scale a little bit, so does CP Black Feather, so they're going to try to use the Adagio just to pressure the lane, try to get CS advantages for Old School over DNZO. Then when they hit a power spike mid-game, that's when C9 will try to play aggressive.
All right, it's about time that we get on into this one. I'm going to ask you for your predictions, gentlemen. We'll start with you, Iraqi Zoro. Who is going to be the first one to take a game in this series?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Cloud9. I think the draft is better. I think as long as they execute properly, not throw, they should definitely win this one.
All right, one for Cloud9.
Definitely an early game advantage for Cloud9 with the pressure that they can provide. It's going to be incredibly close, but I'm going to go with Cloud9 for this one. Just they've looked so strong.
All right, Suijay? I'll listen in.
It's going to be tough for Tribe, but I think Tribe can take it if they play to their win conditions.
All right, so we have 2 for Cloud9,
Shocking.
1 for Tribe. We'll see how this one's going to pan out. It's time to jump into our first semi-final of the World Championship. It's time to pass it up to our casters and get this NA bloodbath underway.
Thank you very much, Munch and the analysts. My name is George, joined by Scoundrel. Semi-final day, Cloud9, the Titans of North America, coming up against Tribes, the Old Immortals roster. They always receive a live buff. We'll see if it comes into play here.
I think both of these compositions are very interesting, and it really depends on the way that they execute as to which one does better against the other. The desk is very right. You have good mid-game advantage with Cloud9, but if you use that sort of team composition to dive onto a Rona, to dive onto a Black Feather, you're also playing into certain advantages that Tribe have. Rona will happily have people dive into her composition because she'll just spin and win, and that's kind of what Rona does. But obviously Cloud9 have got the Vox on Old School. He can kite backwards. They can then turn that into a kiting style composition where you might find that Tribe come undone. It's all going to come down to execution here, and what would you expect less between two amazing North American teams?
They're so well versed, we're playing each other as well over, of course, the VG8s, but Cloud9 are currently undefeated as well, Scoundrel.
Yep.
We are jumping onto the fold for game number 1. Cloud9 on the blue, Tribe over on the red.
And Iraqi's completely right here. You do not want to fight early on as a Fortress. You at least need that aftershock spike. I mean, Fortress really doesn't do enough damage until you have the aftershock. So Stormguard Banner going to come out. He's going to try and hyper farm his way to that particular item spike. And then you might see Cloud9 execute on those item spikes specifically. They're going to try and rotate in from out. And this is something that you do when you want to avoid fighting specifically. Max Green is going to get forced away, but C9 should be able to get this Elder Treant for free, and that means that Joseph now is going to have that timer. He's going to be able to rotate. As long as Tribe don't match that rotation, he's going to be looking just to have a safe early jungle.
Tasty Bacon said exactly this. They said Cloud9 are going to want to fight early, and that's exactly what they did do. Tribe, not so much. They were just held back a little bit.
They were just farming.
Well, I say well, Max Green took a little bit of chip damage. Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
that counts as fighting.
I mean, Tribe, they did the classic rotation that you've seen in Update 2.10 for quite a while, which is going from the back camps to the Elder Treant, maybe looking for a fight. Cloud9 did the thing that you want to do when you avoid a fight. You take the Elder Treant straight away. Unfortunately, if Tribe matched that, you might have seen a fight break out, but Cloud9 got the better of that one there.
You can imagine as well, Tribe have got it fresh in their minds, the Unified Championship in LA, where they got defeated 3-1. We'll see if they've can come back with a vengeance. Tribe now rotating down to the bottom sides. Elder Treant being taken by them this time.
Yeah, Fortress's clear speed is really, really slow. Obviously, they had that timing. Here's a fight.
Joseph taking a little bit of damage, but they are just going to push in. Max Green moving forward with the blood for blood, but he's actually taking a little bit worse for wear at this point. Tigers jumps into the Tribe Rush, a lot of damage going backwards and forwards. There's the into the fray, straight on top of Old School, going extremely low. The Mortal Wound stops the healing. Tribe find first blood, but the fight continues. The Enzio is going to trade as well. Joseph ends up going down. It is T-Tigers and Max Green running from Gabe Vizzle. Gabe Vizzle trying to just kill him off, but the Vanguard and the potion should heal him up for the time being. T-Tigers in the midst of that did take the Treant as well.
Yeah, Cloud9 really want to avoid these 3-on-3 brawls early on. CP Blackfeather and Rona are going to decimate this composition as it stands. Old School's gone for a minion candy. You probably want to see C9 spend most of their time duo lane, putting pressure on Dienzio. Gift of Fire, Agent of Wrath on Vox in the early laning phase is very punishing for a melee hero to deal with, and that's what I expect C9 to want to do to try and at least gain some sort of advantage on the map, because you're not going to gain a jungle advantage with a CP Fortress. It just doesn't happen. Categorically, his clear speed is too slow and he doesn't really do any damage. So you've got to wait until, like I said, that Aftershock spike comes out. I really expect C9 to focus primarily the lane.
Well, let's touch on that a little bit more there, because we did just see Dienzio use a minion candy. First up, has bought 2 already, and he's just used his second one up in the lane as well there to try and push in Old School. But Old School predicted that play and actually bought his own minion candy after he saw Dienzio and put his down as well. So it was very hard for Dienzio to actually push into Old School at that point, because the minions were just so buffed up, leading Cloud9 to 3-man rotate down to the Elder Treant again.
Yeah, again, it was a really nice use of the minion candy. T-Tigers, he's looking to put pressure on Joseph's backs here, and Joseph just can't really trade back, but Gabe's coming through.
Wow, Gabe is actually going to just find him. Only a little bit of damage, though. Didn't quite find anything more, but Tribe are going to move in with a 3-man push onto this Treant here. Old School is fairly low, however, something to keep in mind, and very low energy also. Old School falls low as well. They're going to jump straight on top of him, and they take him down. T-Tigers and Dienzio cut him up. Now, Treant gets taken as well. Doesn't get taken by Dienzio, so he doesn't receive the healing, so he gets cut up and cut down. Another kill onto Joseph. Also, lead Tribe, leading the kill score, 4-2.
Yeah, Old School got a little bit close there, a little bit close to the action. Unfortunately, didn't have that flask up. I think at that point it's now just come up now, and he got blown up again. It's not the kind of fights that you think Cloud9 should be taking at this point. Joseph is heading towards that Aftershock, so once he gets that, really important to reiterate, that's when Cloud9 might look to fight. It's very interesting that Old School actually looks like he's working towards a breaking point. It is something that he did yesterday. Maybe doesn't really feel that the Serpent's Mask healing is enough to warrant a Poison Shiv here.
Dienzio taking a lot of damage up in the lane as well. Maxarini is going to just rotate upwards. Dienzio always just comes out at these live events and just proves himself time and time again. LA was just such a good example of that. Immortals looked absolutely unstoppable until they met the brick wall that is Cloud9. Like I mentioned before, 3-1, and Tribe, they're really, really looking to pile on the pressure early on just to make sure Cloud9 know their place.
Do you know what's really good, what the Tribe are sort of executing here? T-Tigers and Max Green have been super aggressive in the jungle. Time and time again, look at it. They are drawing attention to the jungle of Cloud9, knowing that the less time they spend in the lane, the better it is for them, given that laning phase is so strong for Gabe Vizel and Old School. Dienzio has been very reluctant, other than clearing waves, to spend too much time there. Joseph is the weak link of C9 until he hits that particular spike, so this has been really clever play to focus the jungle here for Tribe.
Yeah, he is very close to actually picking up the Aftershock, though, so you can imagine in the next minute or so, when he does purchase it, they're going to look for a fight. We do look at Old School also. He's picked up an infusion in his inventory, so kind of predicting that inevitability. Plus the breaking point as well was his first item. Tribe once again moving into the jungle.
So good.
Early Crystal Sentry take as well.
Wow. I think C9 are looking to out-rotate them and get the first turret of the game. This could end up in a brawl here. It's Crystal Sentry potentially for turret. Here comes Tribe.
Remember, no Aftershock on Joseph, so he's not outputting a lot of damage right now, but the turret does go down. That's the first one on the board for Cloud9. Gabe was in a lot of trouble. Spin to win available for Dienzio, but does he even need it? Yes, he does. Moves in, picks up the kill. 3-2 on to the carry. T-Tigers trying to stop Old School and Joseph. Backs, they might just be able to do it on point. Doesn't quite land. Cloud9, they lose one, but they lost but they take the turret, but they might just lose one of their own as well.
Yeah, I think Cloud9 are going to end up losing their first turret here. A really good quick rotation to respond to Cloud9, but Cloud9 have now hit those spikes. We are seeing Old School going for that breaking point into double turrets monocle build that I think he went yesterday. Joseph has now hit that Aftershock. It's a little bit more viable for Cloud9 to search for fights at this point in time, but maybe Joseph wants to get a bit of defense behind him. We're already seeing Dienzio with a Serpent's Mask and a heavy steel on top of that. They are doing Cloud9's game right now, but better. Global objectives have become Tribe's focus. They've drawn pressure to the jungle, and C9 are reluctant to take a fight. They might contest this gold trio.
Gold Miner going fairly low. Old School is going fairly low as well. Attack the back's going to get popped. There comes the gauntlet. Old School falling extremely low. Can't get away from T-Tigers. Dashes towards him on point. There's the kill. Dienzio's going to chase Gabe Vizel. Should be an easy clean-up kill for him as well. T-Tigers chasing the wolf. Joseph in trouble. Crystal Sentry isn't going to help you now, buddy. Tribe find the ace. They found the gold miner as well, and the Crystal Sentry will fall as well. The triple capture of the objective from Tribe. Perfect way to end the fight.
And they're going to get the gold miner too as well. They backed off it. They took that fight. Let's take a look at that again. Keep an eye on Old School's positioning. He's been super frontlining here, trying to get those resonance bounces off. And the way that Tribe commit, they get a Vanguard to slow him down. They all jump straight onto Old School. It's so difficult for him to kite away because he doesn't really have any extra peeling. The only thing that he can really have is his Sonic Zoom and that Gift of Fire. And then it was cleanup duty because once Old School's down, the sustained fight damage is kind of done for C9. Joseph is just a weak early jungler on this fortress. He needs specific items to get tanky and sort of faces that front line. Doesn't have that right now. And Tribe are just executing on that early game where they had the advantage.
Something big to mention as well, Excounder, is the fact that Old School and Joseph do not have reflex blocks. So as soon as that gauntlet goes down, what do? They can either run into the gauntlet wall, get stunned up, or they can stay and fight. But you're against a Blackfeather who's built an Aftershock. And Dienzio as well, who's just going to sit in the middle of your team and Red Mist.
Right now, it's probably important for Old School to get damage, though, and you're going to have to rely on Gabe Vizzle to use the Crucible to exit the Gauntlet. The only thing that you need a reflex block here for is the Gauntlet, right? So if Gabe Vizzle and the team can move through the Gauntlet at the same time with the Crucible, you don't actually necessarily need a reflex block, super importantly. If that Gauntlet splits the team up and Gabe Vizzle can't get an effective Crucible across the entire lineup, then it's going to become a problem. But right now, Old School, the best thing I think he can do is rush that second Tyrant's Monocle and really start to output damage, because you're not facing up a huge amount of armor, especially on Dienzio, who I think is your biggest threat right now. He's only got a light armor to work with. So getting another Tyrant's Monocle in the bag is going to allow him to be far more aggressive when kiting away, dealing a significant amount of damage.
Crystal Century eliminated at 9 minutes and 2 seconds. One of the quickest we've seen here at Worlds thus far. Tribe are permanently sitting in Cloud9's jungle.
Gonna go out on a limb and think to say that's the quickest we've ever seen a Crystal Century elimination. I thought Cloud9 had previously had that record. I think now Tribe have taken it from them. That's a super quick Crystal Century elimination. And this has all resulted from Tribe saying, well, we don't want to fight in lane. We know that an Adagio Vox is absolutely going to punish our Rona in lane. We're going to rotate Rona out of lane as much as possible. And then we're going to look to put pressure in the jungle on Joseph, who is very, very weak early on, who's going to want to farm. We disrupt his farm. We get in his face. We then put ourselves at advantage in the early game, and this has allowed them to play the C9 game. Remember the storyline that we talked about with C9 yesterday? We have not seen them come back from a deficit. They've had small deficits to recover from and always have, but this is a very big deficit starting to open up for Cloud9.
Gold miners being started up as well by Max Green. T-Tigers taking that Treant for the 4th time in a row. The domination from T-Tigers right now in the jungle. Dragon's Eye picked up as well with the spare change. Aftershock online, this guy is packing a hell of a punch. Cloud9 right now, what is their game plan at this moment in time? It just seems they want to get Old School as fed as possible, just make sure he is clearing those waves wherever he gets the chance. He's got Monocle, or at least one, looking towards the second one rather shortly.
Yeah, he needs to get his second Monocle online. The Breaking Point double Tyrant's Monocle build is a build that has been popular on Vox for a very long time. It fell out of favor just a little bit, but it gives you a huge amount of damage output and allows you to stack Breaking Point very quickly, more so than if you went the Poison Shiv build. Now, the drawback of not having Poison Shiv here is that it's going to be very easy for Dienzio to sustain, but I guess Cloud9's thought process is if they can kite backwards from Dienzio using the slow from the Gift of Fire and the mobility of Old School on this Vox, they might not need to worry too much about the healing because it's unlikely that Dienzio is going to get too many basic attacks off or going to get too much regeneration from his ultimate. That's, I think, Cloud9's thought process here. Joseph has picked up the Aftershock, and you can note that there's not a huge CP carry threat. It's a decent amount of damage from Fortress, but it's not exactly like you playing up against a Celeste, so there's not much shielding being super prioritized, especially by Dienzio. He's felt comfortable enough to go for a Shiver Steal and just pick up the armor. I think Tribe have correctly identified that the main win condition of Cloud9 right now is this Vox. Remember, right at the start of the game, we said the Vox is going to be the most important facet for Cloud9 in the late game. He needs to be the one that's kiting back and sort of crushing these team fights. I think Tribe have also correctly identified that. They're going to ignore the Fortress for the most part and going to go heavy in on defending against that damage coming out from Old School.
That's exactly why they're right here, right now. Their ability to understand how the enemy team composition works and their win conditions and how to counter it also. Tribe's all in, just dive on Old School. Will work if they can kill him, but I've got a feeling as soon as Old School gets that second Monocle online, he's going to be quite a tough tough hero to actually lock down at this moment.
Josie's picked up Atlas Pauldrons. Now, it's not a super important item against Arona. She doesn't really get affected by that when using Red Mist. But if you are trying to chase down with Foe Splitter, it is something that can actually affect you negatively. So it might allow them, when kiting backwards, to be a bit more defensive against the Rona. And T-Tigers always loves to basic attack. Obviously, the more you basic attack, the more Heartthrob stacks you build up. And the more Heartthrob stacks you build up, the better your execute's going to be. So Atlas Pauldrons has got some viability here, and that's a good pickup. Interesting, Gabe Vizzle's gone for a Shiver Steal. This is ultimately playing into that game plan of heavy peel for Old School. Use that Shiver Steal, slow down Dienzio, T-Tigers, and Max Green when they try to dive Old School. It's all on Old School right now, Jaws.
Piling all the resources into him. T-Tigers once again pushing in with Max Green to try and contest some of this.
Gets it.
Oh, man. That is salt in the wounds for Cloud9. Their entire jungle just got cleared out. And you can see the CS opening up as well, the difference. T-Tigers sitting on 70, Joseph only 48. Even Old School and Dienzio barely close in that regard, but that's because they've just been piling everything into Old School at this moment.
Yeah.
Goldmine is taken away here again by Tribe. Adds another bit of change in their bank. 5,000 gold lead at 13 minutes. This is absolute perfect execution from Tribrand.
Old School's nearly at that second Tyrant's Monocle. It will be a decent breaking point for him, but oh no, he's gone for the Tornado Trigger instead. This is the build that he went for yesterday, the Tornado Trigger and the Tyrant's Monocle. It gives you a bit of extra attack speed, allows you to stack a little bit more quickly, and also allows you to kite more frequently as well, with being able to weave in those basic attacks too. So again, Old School, I'm wondering whether he's going to go for a 4-item build here. He might pick up a Bone Saw. Or I think, in my opinion, I think definitely looking forward towards some shielding, especially given how easily T-Tigers can dive you. So we'll see. Old School still retaining his Flask right now. I think that's super important to these fights. And I would agree, Flask gets better as the game goes on, you know.
Right, this is the kind of moment they've been waiting for. The Echo was just picked up as well by Max Green. It's been a fairly slow few minutes, but again, Tribe do clear out Cloud9's jungle. They are just left starving up in that lane. Infusion picked up here by Old School also, so recognizing now, like you mentioned, Tornado Trigger online, so maybe this is the chance they actually get to fight.
Really important to note that in 30 seconds, Kraken will spawn. C9 could probably afford to give one of those up, but can't afford to give two of those up. And I think Tribe are going to start to bring C9 into an uncomfortable position, saying, you're going to have to contest it. You're going to have to leave your base at some point, guys. And Kraken is going to be the way to draw them out.
Imagine Tribe taking the game here and handing Cloud9 their first loss as well. The morale boost that I'll actually give them for the next few games.
And we haven't seen Cloud9 bounce back either. We haven't seen them bounce back, and we don't know exactly what it feels like for Cloud9 to come back from a loss, let alone a deficit. Kraken spawns, Tribe are right there on the money. I'm wondering if Cloud9 are even going to try and contest this.
They're just going to start it up. Joseph is no way near at this point. Actually had to back off and save Gabe Vizzle. Pick up a couple of scout traps. Nice infusion pick up here, Tribe. So over half captured right now. I don't think Cloud9 know it's happening, or they might have a feeling now as they've not seen, and they can actually see the Treant just going down there as well, and that's it. Kraken completely taken by Tribe easily. Cloud9 did not have an ear in.
I think realistically that's the best decision for Cloud9 at this point in time. If they can take down Kraken, it's a good boon of gold for them. And obviously with this heavy melee composition, the siege isn't fantastic, so they might not be able to get as close as they would like to some of these turrets. Oh, and they still have the outer turret to work with too, so there's a bit of time that Cloud9 can afford to give up. Kraken will be a little bit of extra gold input, 1,500 gold for the team in total. And they made a wise decision. They lose a fight if they try to contest Kraken.
Well, thing is, if Tribe do pull the trigger, they have got a double gauntlet they can throw down on top of Cloud9. They're just walking up to the turret right now. That range that you were talking about just wasn't really there. Gabe Vizzle and Old School fairly scared to actually, they can't really damage the Kraken at this point. They have to go in range. Vox, one of the shorter ranges of the carries up in the lane, meaning he really does have to get close. And you can see at some points really hammering home. The base has been cracked. Tribe might look for a little engagement here. T-Tigers go straight on top of Old School. There's the first corner. The Crucible's been used, but it burns out. And Vox is already dead. Old School goes down. Another gauntlet from Max Green will mean Gabe Vizzle and Joseph are trapped inside it. Kraken's marching on the base, and first Vein Crystal turret goes down. The second one is to follow. Max Green, T-Tigers, Dienzio, they claim Cloud9's base and hand them the first loss at Worlds.
What an explosive first game in this semi-final. Cloud9 a composition that was tough to pull up, a composition that had such a weak early jungle that Tribe was able to exploit. Cloud9 wanted to push advantages in the lane. They wanted to take that